Okay, let's go ahead and just double check your answers at the bottom there. Double check, like maybe if you got like 6 plus 4x plus 2y, double check you didn't get the big enough GCF. So you didn't have the greatest common factor. You had to listen to those slightly smaller. This last one here on E, I do want to talk about that for a moment. In general, since there's a -3 there, we usually pull out the -3. That's not to say that you have to do that. Another possible answer here that you could have is 3xy is -x minus 5y squared. It's just more generally we do pull out a negative, and that will become important later on, but right now, in all honesty, either of those answers are perfectly acceptable. Okay, let's go ahead and flip over to the back side of your notes where we're going to talk about grouping. So, with grouping, we're looking at things that have 4 terms. So polynomials with 4 terms. We apply factoring by grouping anytime we have a 4-term polynomial. This is a form of factoring that involves recognizing the GCF. So we're going to start, and we're going to group polynomials into 2 groups of 2. And then we're going to do it like we did in the front, factor out the GCF out of both of them. So we're going to go ahead and we're looking at these 2 terms and these 2 terms. Okay, so as you look at those 2 terms, we're saying what's the GCF of those 2? X cubed and x squared. Well, that has a cube, that's a squared, so x squared is our GCF. 7x and 14, well, it definitely can't have an x because that doesn't have it, so 7 and 14, the GCF is 7. Okay, so as we look at this, we're going to take these first 2 terms, and we're dividing these ones by x squared. So that's like where I said on the front, how you could write it separately or all over the same one. Plus, we're taking our second 2 terms, and we're dividing it all by 7. Okay, so now, as we divide x cubed by x squared, we get x. 2x squared divided by x squared is 2. But we're not saying, hey, this is equal to, this polynomial up top is equal to x plus 2. We're saying it's the quantity of that times x squared, right? Plus, let's divide this by 7. 7x divided by 7 is x. 14 divided by 7 is plus 2. And we've got our GCF out front of 7. Now here you should recognize, hey, those 2 have something in common. They both have a factor of x plus 2. So think about this as like the opposite is distributing. We're going to take the coefficients out front, and that's going to be our first factor. And the remainder is that x plus 2 as our second factor. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So to group the first 2 and the next 2 together. So what's the GCF here? X cubed, 3x squared. Well, it's going to be an x squared. This is the one where you gotta be a little careful. I've got a negative 4x and a negative 12. Here, if there is a negative, this sign right here is a negative, versus notice how this one is a positive. I want you to factor out the negative. So we're going to take a negative, and then the GCF of 4x and 12 is 4. So same thing here. We're going to take x cubed plus 3x squared, all divided by x squared, minus 4x minus 12, all divided by negative 4. So x cubed divided by x squared is x. 3x squared divided by x squared is 3. But remember, we're not saying that is equal to the polynomial on top. We're saying that times the quantity of x squared. And then here we're taking our GCF out front, so minus 4. Let's see what we get. Negative 4 divided by x divided by negative 4 is x. Negative 12 divided by negative 4 is positive 3. So think about the opposite of like distributing. You can think about taking that x plus 3 out front, and then my leftovers are the other factor, x squared minus 4. And notice, because multiplication is commutative, it doesn't matter if you put like the x plus 3 first, like we did here, or if you put it second. That's equivalent. Okay, one more together. So we're looking for the GCF here, 7x cubed, 7x squared, so 7x squared. And then negative 4x plus 4, since there's a negative there, make sure you factor it out. And then 4x and 4, 4. Okay, take those two terms and divide by the GCF. 7 divided by 7 is 1. X cubed divided by x is x. Negative 7 divided by 7 is minus 1. X squared divided by x is 1, so minus 1. But we got to make sure to write our GCF out front, 7x squared. So now same thing over here. Minus 4x plus 4 all over negative 4. Let's try to be a little careful with that minus. Negative 4x divided by negative 4 is a positive x, right? 4 divided by negative 4 is a negative 1. And then our GCF is a negative 4 out front. Okay, so now we're kind of like the opposite distributing. We're taking the two coefficients up front, 7x squared minus 4, and then our common factor of x minus 1, putting that together. Okay. Go ahead. Before you pause the video, just so you know, this right here is supposed to be f. So if you want to rewrite it over here, that may be helpful. 12a squared minus 15ab minus 16a plus 20b. Go ahead and pause the video, see if you guys can do these ones on your own, and we'll come back together. Okay, go ahead and take a moment to check the ones that you tried. In particular, something I want to point out with these ones is you have to find the GCF. So for example, like on this one, if you had said the GCF was 5x, all of a sudden this 5x would give you 2x minus 10, and you wouldn't have had a common factor. Factoring by grouping should always give you something in common here, like this x minus 5, x minus 5. That's another reason why we had to divide by the negative 3. Our GCF is a negative 3. Because otherwise, these factors, these common ones, this would have been like a negative 3x minus 4. It wouldn't have matched this first one identically. So those are some key things for you to point out. If you maybe did get something wrong, see if you can go back and double check your work. And I want to talk about this last one. Can you factor this polynomial by grouping? The answer is yes, you can factor it by grouping. But the tricky thing here is if you would just start off and you would have taken it as is, it wouldn't have worked out for you. But here, if you arrange it in like the standard order where you have your highest degree term first to your lowest, so 3x cubed minus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6, then you do your grouping, it will work out for you. Okay, I hope that's enough to get you going. Help each other out, right? I will be back tomorrow, so if you really do have questions, I'm happy to help, but you have the remainder of class to work on your assignment. So get to work.